Long ago, in the land of Egypt, a nation of enslaved people cried out for freedom. They were the Israelites, descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For generations they had lived in Egypt, but now they were forced into hard labor under the cruel rule of Pharaoh. Yet, their cries for deliverance reached the heavens, and God heard them. God chose a man named Moses to lead his people to freedom. Moses, however, was not a confident leader. He was hesitant and full of doubt. "Who am I to stand before Pharaoh?" Moses asked. God's response was firm and reassuring, "I will be with you." Despite his fears, Moses obeyed. With his brother Aaron as his spokesperson, they went before Pharaoh with a bold message from God. "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened. He mocked their God and refused to release the Israelites. Little did he know, he would soon witness the unmatched power of the God of Israel. The first sign of God's power struck at the heart of Egypt, the Nile River. This river was not just a source of water, it was a symbol of life and prosperity for the Egyptians. But as Pharaoh watched, Moses raised his staff over the waters, and the miracle unfolded before their eyes. The river turned to blood. With the lifeblood of Egypt polluted, the consequences were immediate. Fish died, the water reeked, and the Egyptians could not drink from the river. Desperation set in as they tried to dig wells along the Nile, hoping to find clean water beneath the earth. Pharaoh's advisors looked to their magicians for answers. Using their own enchantments, the magicians managed to replicate the plague, or so it seemed. This imitation gave Pharaoh a false sense of control, and his heart remained as hard as ever. Pharaoh's advisors looked to their magicians for answers. Using their own enchantments, the magicians managed to replicate the plague, or so it seemed. This imitation gave Pharaoh a false sense of control, and his heart remained as hard as ever. As Pharaoh continued to defy God, another plague descended upon Egypt, a plague of frogs. At first it may have seemed harmless, even amusing, but soon the infestation spiraled out of control. Frogs covered the land. Frogs invaded every corner of Egyptian life. They were in homes, in beds, even in the ovens and kneading bowls used to prepare food. There was no escape from their presence. Finally, Pharaoh could endure no more. He summoned Moses and Aaron, pleading with them. "Pray to your God to take these frogs away," he begged, "and I will let your people go." But once the frogs were gone, Pharaoh's heart hardened again. He broke his promise, refusing to let the Israelites go. The second plague was over, but Egypt's suffering was far from finished. As Pharaoh continued to harden his heart, God sent a new wave of affliction upon Egypt. First, the dust of the earth turned into gnats. Tiny, relentless, and swarming, the gnats covered people and animals alike, making every moment unbearable. As Pharaoh continued to harden his heart, God sent a new wave of affliction upon Egypt. First, the dust of the earth turned into gnats. Tiny, relentless, and swarming, the gnats covered people and animals alike, making every moment unbearable. But God was not finished. Soon after, a plague of flies descended upon Egypt. These flies were not merely annoying, they were relentless and overwhelming, covering every surface and filling every space. Yet again, God showed his power by sparing the Israelites. While Egypt suffered, the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, remained free of flies. This distinction was undeniable, but Pharaoh's heart remained hard. The gnats and flies had brought misery to Egypt, yet Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. Each plague was a warning, but Pharaoh's defiance only grew stronger. Then, a devastating blow came to Egypt's wealth and strength, its livestock. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep all were struck with disease and died in the fields. The once busy farmlands were now eerily quiet, as the Egyptians mourned their animals. But Pharaoh remained defiant. So, God sent another affliction. Moses threw soot from a furnace into the air, and it spread across the land, causing painful boils to break out on the skin of the Egyptians and their animals. Even Pharaoh's magicians were struck down and could not stand before Moses. Yet despite the suffering, Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go. Now God sent Moses to deliver another warning. "Let my people go, or hail will rain down on Egypt like never before." Some of Pharaoh's officials, now fearing the power of the God of Israel, heeded the warning and brought their servants and animals indoors. But many others ignored it. When Moses raised his staff, a mighty storm began. Thunder roared, lightning lit up the sky, and hail rained down, destroying everything left unprotected: crops, trees, animals, and homes. The storm was so severe that nothing like it had ever been seen in Egypt's history. Pharaoh, shaken by the devastation, summoned Moses and Aaron. "I have sinned," he confessed. "The Lord is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Pray to your God to stop this storm, and I will let your people go." Moses prayed, and the storm ceased. But when the hail stopped and peace returned, Pharaoh's heart hardened once more, and he refused to release the Israelites. God then sent locusts to swarm the land. These insects devoured every green thing left behind by the hailfields of wheat and barley, fruit trees, and vegetation. Egypt's land, once abundant, was left bare. Pharaoh's officials begged him, "Let the Israelites go. Don't you see that Egypt is ruined?" Pharaoh relented temporarily, offering to let only the men go to worship God. But Moses demanded that all the Israelites, men, women, and children be allowed to leave. Pharaoh, enraged, refused. Then came the 9th plague, darkness. A thick, unrelenting darkness fell over Egypt for 3 days. It was not just the absence of light, it was a paralyzing, oppressive darkness that seemed to carry the weight of judgment. No one could move or see each other, yet the Israelites in Goshen had light. Pharaoh summoned Moses again, willing to let the Israelites go but insisting they leave their livestock behind. Moses refused. Furious, Pharaoh declared, "Get out of my sight. The day you see my face again, you will die." This was the final judgment, the most severe and heartbreaking of all the plagues. God instructed Moses to tell the Israelites to prepare for this night, a night that would change history forever. Visuals: Israelites gathering together in their homes, preparing the Passover meal with lamb and unleavened bread. Each family was to select a lamb without blemish, slaughter it, and place its blood on the doorframes of their homes. This blood would be a sign, and when the angel of death passed through Egypt, it would pass over the homes marked by the blood. The Israelites also ate their meal in haste, with their sandals on and staffs in hand, ready to leave at a moment's notice. This meal would be called the Passover, and would be remembered by generations to come as a symbol of God's deliverance. At midnight, the angel of death passed through the land of Egypt. In every Egyptian household, the firstborn son died from the palace of Pharaoh to the humblest shack. Even the firstborn of their livestock perished. The cries of grief and sorrow echoed through the land, a wailing so loud it could not be ignored. Yet, among the Israelites, not a single child was harmed. The blood on their doorframes marked them as God's chosen people, protected by his covenant. Finally, Pharaoh could take no more. He summoned Moses and Aaron in the dead of night. "Leave my people," he cried. "Go, worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds, and go. And also, bless me." The Israelites, who had lived in bondage for generations, gathered their families, their belongings, and their livestock. They departed in haste, carrying with them the treasures the Egyptians gave them out of fear and desperation. And so, on that night, God fulfilled his promise to deliver his people from slavery. The Exodus had begun. The story of the 10 plagues is not just about judgment, it's about God's faithfulness, his power to save, and his unwavering commitment to his people. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, deliverance is possible. And so, the God of Israel led his people out of Egypt, beginning their journey to freedom, a journey that would shape their identity for generations to come.
If this message resonates with you, hit that like button and let the universe know you're ready for your breakthrough. Subscribe to our channel for more transformative insights and guidance on your journey to abundance. Share this video with friends and family who need to hear this today. Let's amplify our positive energy together. Your engagement not only helps us grow but also strengthens the cosmic energy we are building as a community. Together, we can uplift each other and manifest our dreams into reality, one positive action at a time.